Have you ever felt like you're just stuck in a loop? You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but you just keep falling back into the same old patterns. Well, what if I told you this isn't a personal failing? What if it's actually a feature of your biology? Let's dive into this repetition trap and, more importantly, figure out how to finally break free.
I mean, does this sound familiar? You gather up all this amazing advice, you get super motivated for a day, maybe two, and then, before you know it, you're right back where you started. You're doing the exact thing you promised yourself you'd stop. It is an incredibly frustrating cycle to be in, and trust me, you are definitely not the only one feeling that way.
Okay, here's the most important thing you need to hear, and it's a total game changer. Your struggle to change is not a weakness. It's not a character flaw. It's actually a feature, not a bug, of your biology. The best way to think about it is like this. Your brain has a hidden thermostat, and its one and only job is to keep things exactly as they are, safe, familiar, and predictable. So to really understand how we can break that cycle, we first need to get a handle on what this thermostat is and how it works. And that brings us to this core biological concept called homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically your body's internal balancing system. Its number one job is to keep everything stable. So, when you try to make a big, sudden change, like starting a new diet or jumping into a tough workout plan, your brain sees that as a threat, kind of like a sudden spike in the room's temperature. To cool things down and get back to the normal you've said, it triggers its defense mechanisms. Procrastination, self-sabotage, sudden avoidance, anything it can do to pull you right back to your old familiar baseline.
And this is exactly why just using pure willpower almost always fails. Trying to force change with willpower is like standing in a room and just yelling at the thermostat, hoping it'll change the temperature. It doesn't work, right? The system is automated. So instead of fighting it head-on, we need a much smarter approach. We need to gently give the thermostat new information until it decides to reset its own normal temperature. And we do this through small, consistent actions we're going to call immersion protocols.
So if yelling at the thermostat is out, how do we actually go about gently resetting that dial? Well, we're going to look at 7 specific protocols, and we can group them into 3 main categories of resets that let you kind of hack into this homeostatic system.
These 3 areas are basically the control panels for your internal thermostat. We're going to start by hacking our physical state, then we'll move on to our emotional regulation, and finally, we'll look at how we can directly influence our brain's own circuitry.
First up, your physical state. You might not realize it, but your body and your environment are sending constant signals to your brain about who you are and what's considered safe. So let's look at 2 protocols designed to intentionally change those signals.
The first one is called Identity Costume Day. This is based on a fascinating idea called Embodied Cognition, which just means your brain takes cues from your body. So for one day, you're going to act as if you are already the person you want to be. Stand a little taller, speak a little more slowly and clearly. This sends signals of control and confidence to your brain. The second one is friction engineering. All this means is you make your good habits easier to do than your bad ones. So you put your work tools right where your hands naturally fall, and you put your phone in another room. Your brain will almost always take the path of least resistance.
Okay, next up, let's move to our second category, hacking your emotional regulation. A lot of the time, our emotional reactions are the very thing that triggers that thermostat's cooling system and pulls us back.
Now, these protocols sound incredibly simple, but they are so powerful. The Trigger Lab uses a technique from exposure therapy. You just pick one small thing you tend to avoid, and you expose yourself to it for just 30 seconds. That's it. Your brain learns that it's survivable, and the threat level starts to go down. Then you have the one emotion rule. For one day, you ban the phrase, "I'm fine." Instead, you have to name the specific emotion you're feeling. This is called affect labeling, and what it does is it shifts brain activity away from the alarm bells and toward the regulation centers, which literally calms your nervous system down.
And finally, let's get right to the source and look at hacking the brain circuits themselves. These protocols are designed to directly interrupt the patterns of thought and reward that really keep us stuck.
You know, overthinking isn't really a personality trait. It's a brain state. It happens when your brain gets stuck in what scientists call the default mode network, which is the part associated with worry and rumination. But here's the cool part. The off switch is action. Any simple physical action, like standing up, drinking a glass of water, or writing just one sentence, activates what's called the task-positive network, which is all about focus and doing. Your brain can't fully be in both modes at once, so a tiny action literally shuts down overthinking.
Next up is the dopamine reset. See, our brains are constantly being flooded with what you could call fast dopamine from things like scrolling social media and getting notifications. This makes our reward system less sensitive, and it's why normal, slow activities like reading or focusing on work can start to feel boring. The protocol is simple. For just 2 hours, you only engage in slow dopamine activities. This helps your brain's reward system resensitize itself, making real-life efforts feel rewarding again.
Now, all of these protocols we've talked about are effective on their own, but they're all powered by one single unifying pattern. This is the core mechanism that actually convinces that thermostat to change its setting for good.
This is what we call the proof loop. And here's the bottom line. Your nervous system does not care about your intentions, your goals, or your affirmations. It's a prediction machine, and it only trusts proof. The only way to get it to update its predictions about who you are is to feed it a consistent stream of new evidence, like a daily receipt that shows you completed a small action.
And this is how it all comes together over time. On day 1, you have one little piece of evidence. By day 7, you have a full week's worth of proof that a new behavior is possible and, more importantly, safe. And by day 30, your brain actually starts to accept this as the new normal. You've slowly, gently, and undeniably recalibrated the thermostat by showing it, not by telling it.
So if you only take one single thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The way out of a rut isn't thinking your way out or learning one more hack. The antidote to being stuck is lived evidence. You have to generate new data for your brain to analyze.
So how do you start? Where does all this lead? Honestly, it all comes down to this one simple number. 1. Not 7, not 3, not even 2. Just 1. Your first step, right now, is to just pick one of these protocols and fully commit to running it for today. That's it. Maybe it's friction engineering and you just move your phone for the rest of the day. Or maybe it's the one emotion rule. The power isn't in knowing all 7 of these. It's in executing one. That single action is your first piece of evidence. It's your first receipt for the proof loop. And that is how real, lasting change actually begins.
Did you find it interesting and helpful? Please subscribe to our channel for more insights on modern-day issues and simple solutions.